You are listening to the SDSU Football Podcast, presented by the East Village Times, with your hosts Andre Hagverdian and Paul Garrison. Welcome, listeners, to another episode of the SDSU Football Podcast. I am Andre Hagverdian, and I'm joined, as always, by Paul Garrison. On today's episode, we have an interview with the head coach of San Diego State, Brady Hoke. Paul had an opportunity recently to chat with Coach Hoke as kind of a primer for fall camp starting later this week. Talk to him about kind of his philosophy, how he's built the culture, some of the main storylines heading into fall camp. Hope you guys enjoy it. We'll play it, and then Paul and I will come back and discuss some of the interview and some of the other topics for San Diego State as we head into fall camp.
All right. Coach, how you doing?
I'm doing good, Paul. How's your summer been?
You know, my summer, I'll be honest with you, has been very, very crazy. But coming through it, where it's as good as it could have possibly came out, so everything's really, really good, and just excited for where we're at. You know, I want to be mindful of your time, so can we jump into it?
You got it.
Perfect. So, Brady, you've been coaching now for a while. What motivates you at this stage in your career?
Well, number one, I got into coaching to help kids grow. And, you know, I had a coach Chris Allen, who absolutely helped me grow as a young man. And that's what I give back, you know, and you know, you want to help them, you know, grow and from an academic, social, and football, you know, all three aspects of it.
Now, over the last 6 months, we've had the opportunity to talk with a lot of the coaches, a lot of the players in the program. Thank you for that access. But one theme that's come up is what you were just mentioning, that growth. You know, just the coach's honesty and being able to say, you know, this is what I learned here and this is how I'm getting better. And to a man, they all credited you with the culture that you've created there to allow them, you know, to face the truth and then to grow from that. Could you talk a little bit more about how you've created that culture at SDSU to grow and improve and to, you know, keep striving for excellence?
Well, I think, you know, when I graduated from Ball State, I was going into law enforcement, you know, and I was I did an internship with the Federal Probation and Parole Office, and I would be in federal court at times and, you know, going to see parolees and all those things. And I started helping a guy coach high school football, a guy named Dave Tanner in Yorktown, Indiana. And I came home once from my job and told Laura, I said, I'm going to quit my job. And she said, well, I thought you enjoyed coaching those kids. I said, no, I'm going to quit the one that really pays money and gives you benefits. So I started helping Dave Tanner at Yorktown High School. And, you know, I had, like I said, Chris Allen really helped me as a coach and helped me and direct me and kick my ass when I needed it, which was at that time in my life pretty often. And it really, you know, I want to help guys. And, you know, you could see yourself in some of the guys maybe going down the wrong road, but at the same time you saw them, you know, grow and mature and, you know, graduate and became pretty daggone successful people. So, you know, that's the reason. And, you know, I had some great mentors. I mean, Dan Summerall at Toledo, Jack Harbaugh at Western Michigan, you know, as head coaches. And then Dave Craigthorpe and Jerry Pettibone at Oregon State, Gary Moeller and Lloyd Carr, you know, at Michigan. I mean, guys who I learned an awful lot about and I can remember when I took the Ball State job, Lloyd said, "You'll learn more in 3 months than you will in 5 years of being there." And I called him in 3 months and said, "Coach, I've learned more in 3 months, like you said, than I ever could." And just, trying to be a sponge with all those great people. I got a picture in my office of Woody Hayes and Bo Schembechler that was taken 2 days before Woody died. And so it was, something was real special. But those were guys who, mentored me. And, I try and give something back to the guys on this staff. We've got some guys who've been doing it a long time, which is a definite plus, with Coach Horton, myself, and then with Gary Bernardi and Kevin Wolfhausen as two older analyst guys, who've been around. And I think that's a plus. It helps some of the younger coaches, and hopefully we give them the proper direction and the opportunities to have the same impact on young men like we did.
That's great. You recently elevated Craig Smith to replace Matt Rosano as the Director of Player Personnel. Why was it important for you to hire from within for that position, and what does Craig bring to that role?
Yeah, well, number one, Matt did a heck of a job in his, in his work here. Craig's father and I coached together for, I think, about 14 years. And is a good friend, and his mother, Laura, my wife, and her, have known each other for a long time. But Craig brings so much when you look at, from the standpoint of what recruiting has become today. And in saying that, you talk about the technology and all those things that he's done a great job with. His demeanor and how he does things, and his organization, all those things are really a strong suit for him. And I'm excited about him, being here already and knowing how, and Paul, let's be honest, because of his dad, he's known me a long time. And so he understands how I like to do things and how I like to recruit and all those kind of things. And at the same time, I think he's brought some different personality to the recruiting and what we're trying to get done.
You talk about that personality, kind of moving to the offensive side of the ball. There's a lot of options that you could have about having your ideal offense. You've always chosen to have a balanced attack. Why is balance between the passing and the rushing game so important to you?
Well, I think, being a defensive coach, I think over the years, I've really, you look at what's hurt you, and a balanced attack, nobody can line up either in the run game or the pass game. And, the one thing I always know in being a defensive coach is we're going to have an offense that's going to be able to hang on to a lead and to finish a game. And, whether that's, taking the time off the clock and playing to your defense a little bit. And that's kind of where we've kind of been in some degree, or having the ability to make some big plays. And, in both of those scenarios, it starts at the quarterback position. In both those scenarios, I think your front and what they bring. And I think when you look at where we're at, I think we right now, when you look at the skill positions and quarterback and the tight ends, I like where we're at. I think, we're going to learn a little bit more as we get into fall camp about up front offensively, because that's been my biggest concern since the spring.
So, with this upcoming season, there's a lot of noise surrounding everything. The 100th season, opening of Snapdragon, all the talk about conference realignment. So distraction, at least from the outside, seems to be a real possibility. But yours team is a team that just won 12 games, going through crazy distractions of never playing in San Diego County. How has the past experience maybe helped you to going forward? I know it's amazing being able to do it, but these kids have been trained under that regimen, I guess. So how does that help you avoid the distractions and become a better team as you go forward?
Well, I would say this. We played the last 23 games away from San Diego, and have not been at home. I think we had 4 NFL draft picks and 5 other guys being unrestricted free agents. To me, those guys, and the guys that left, we had the defensive MVP in the Mountain West Conference, the special teams player of the year in the Mountain West Conference. I think, we obviously had some very good football players, some very good leaders. We won 12 games. There's so many things that team did. And at the same time, once the bowl game was over with, all those guys are gone. And now we have to rebuild again. And you have to, who are your leaders and who are the guys who understand that? Who are the guys who are going to push each other during what we're doing and the conditioning, the job that Coach Adam Hall has done. I think, it's obviously, I think Belichick, I think it's Nick, call it the process, and it's phases for us, and I thought we've done a great job getting ready for our 4th phase. I think we have some leadership that's, I'm excited to see them get in the heat of the battle. I think the portal and the guys that we've looked at and taken off the portal has been a real positive. And they've come in here, and Keenan Christian, I'm going to tell you, he has come in here. He has put his nose to the grind, and he's come in and impressed a lot of people. Same with Braxton, Cooper McDonald, Mark Redmond, Justice Devine, Cade Bennett. I mean, they've all come in here and they've all jumped right in, because if you're a new guy in the program, I guarantee you, if I'm in the program already, I'm going to test you. I'm going to see what you're all about. And I think they've all done a very, very good job and really, really excited about what they've done. Now, I'm not a big fan of the portal, Paul, but I guess I should be because and we'll see after the season, but I think we've gotten some really good character guys that are going to be part of what we're doing.
Of course, last question from me. You've mentioned the offensive line and its need to mature. What can be done in fall camp to help that maturing process?
Yeah, I think this, and a lot of it they've done with their growth. I think they've done a pretty good job through the summer. I think when we get in, obviously, it's going to see where they're at. How, once we get in that first inside drill or whatever, see where they're at. Ulama and his leadership. Brandon Crenshaw, and his leadership as guys who have played and had reps. And I'm excited about it. I'm excited about the guys who are there. And so it's going to be, we'll have some tests, but we'll see what the growth has been.
Perfect. Thank you so much for talking, and look forward to seeing you in person soon.
Sounds good. Thanks, Paul.
All right, Paul. We just heard your conversation with Coach Brady Hoke. Pretty good details. Some things, kind of about the start of his coaching career that I didn't know, and I don't think either of us knew. So what were your main takeaways from that discussion?
I mean, I think he's still energized. I mean, I think that was the thing that stood out to me the most. There's always this idea that older coaches, as they get into the, probably the last stop in his career, are they as passionate as they were? Maybe his first stop, or, I mean, gosh, the toll that the last couple of years have taken on everybody, could make everyone reevaluate or make everyone be able to look at their priorities. But it's very clear from the conversation that he is just as energized and excited about, leading the Aztecs into their 100th season.
I thought it was funny how he was telling the story about telling his wife that he was going to quit his job.
Right.
And his wife was like, "Oh, but I thought you liked coaching football and the kids." And he's like, "Yeah, I'm going to quit the other one that actually pays the bills." That was pretty funny. When I was listening to that interview, I was cracking up for that, because I could totally picture that happening, that scene, right? When he's like, "I'm quitting," and she was like, "Oh, you're not going to quit your job that actually pays," but it was interesting. Yeah, he does seem energized. It's a fun setting, right, with the 100th season and the new stadium, and a lot of young and upcoming players that are looking to kind of gel with the veterans and take this team to hopefully winning 22.
Right. And I thought that, he went into all of the transfers. I also thought that was a funny moment where he's like, here's all these great transfers that we have, but I don't like the transfer portal. Well, maybe I should, he says, right? Because they've had so much success. And so I thought that was a funny part of it.
I think when the transfers were announced, I wrote an article that basically talked about, like, you may not like the portal, but you definitely benefited from the portal this year. And he kind of, he echoed those same sentiments that I wrote a few months ago, that it was a huge benefit and a plus for San Diego State in 2022, given the incoming transfers and the departing transfers. I think it was a huge plus in that towards San Diego State this year. It's not going to be like that every year, but I think San Diego State will be more on the plus side than the negative side on most years.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, I think that San Diego State and the culture that they have, they're not pulling any punches. They want people who can come in there and work. They want people in there who are kind of no nonsense and just about football, who are ready to be, as I think we talked to Coach Hall at the beginning of all of this offseason, just saying they're going to be torn down every year and rebuilt. And not a lot of people want to go through that, because that's who they are. The transfers who are coming here know that. And so that already has to be who they are if they're going to be attracted to San Diego State. Conversely, the guys who already said yes to coming to San Diego State, that's who they are. And so they're not going to be afraid of, losing an opportunity or not competing or whatever, because they said yes to begin with. And so I think in general, the portal, it should help them. And it certainly helped them this year. I mean, you go through it and, Brady did, but where would this team be without transfers? I mean, they would be in trouble, right? And then, as you, I think right now, just astutely pointed out, we would be talking about their offensive line being even younger than it is last season if all those guys wouldn't have been able, a couple of those guys would have come back, or the year before that in 2020. So the portal's been good to the Aztecs so far, and they're never going to get all of them right. They're never going to make sure everyone's going to come in and be an instant starter. However, it's difficult to see why they couldn't continue to have success, either not bring anybody in or not bring very many people in because they couldn't find the right matches, or the people that they're going to come in are going to work hard. They're going to do all the things that are typical of Aztecs.
Yeah. And, as we sit here, fall camp is starting on Friday, August 5th. So it's just that next step, right? The coach talks about phases. I think this would be phase 4, if I'm not mistaken. So it's just it ratchets up the excitement of just the players, the coaches, the fans. For us, we get to go out there on some days and get to see them actually in pads and practicing, and getting to maybe talk to a few more of the players and the coaches that we haven't had a chance to talk to recently. So that's another exciting part of this next phase starting.
Right. And it's, to me, it's a lot of fun, and I want to congratulate you. And I guess, by extension, congratulating myself, patting myself on the back. But I mean, we had a goal, right? I mean, we both have been paying attention to San Diego State sports and San Diego State for a while. And that off-season coverage is not as consistent as in season. Our goal was to change that. Our goal was to find a way to cover the team as much in the off season as we do during the season. I think we succeeded in that. I mean, the number of interviews that we were able to talk to, the people who, the people or the events that aren't normally highlighted, that got highlighted. And, we didn't know. I mean, full disclosure, we when we started this, we didn't know what it was going to be or how we were going to find avenues to be able to connect with people. But as we've done it, it's just snowballed and it's grown. And, we've had the opportunity to just do so much. And so I guess you got to post your W's every now and again. So Andre, congratulations for just all the hard work and being able to reach the goal, because as you say, it's phase 4. And so this was the point where we wanted to be able to say from the end of the season to right now, we want to have coverage, and we were able to provide that.
It's funny to look back on us having our initial talks about this podcast about, 1 a month, maybe 2 a month.
Right. So that means we can stop for the next 3 years, and then we can pick it back up, and then we'll have our average correct.
I'm thinking out loud here, during the season, it might be difficult to do running podcasts every week, but something to think about in terms of game recaps or previews or little maybe shorter bursts here and there of people we can get on, in addition to the articles and the covering of the games we're going to be doing. So, to our listeners, we're not exactly sure what will be becoming of this podcast in season, but it's not going to be completely going away that maybe we would have initially thought that this was only an off-season thing. So more to come there. We haven't quite figured it out yet, but we will, and we'll put whatever we put out will be quality.
Yeah, no question. And I echo that. Just that the articles and the things that we do is with the East Village Times is obviously the bread and butter, and we're going to continue to do that. I mean, we still haven't even put out all of the preview articles yet. We're about halfway through there, by the way. I mean, again, just this our vision of what it is that we talked about, just on a personal note, a month ago, we put out stuff about conference realignment. And we said, listen, this is what it looks like to us. And I don't think anything has changed that would make that idea wrong. San Diego State is a clear fit in Southern California, we said, and the Pac-12, if they're going to compete, they need to be able to keep a big presence here. So that means San Diego State, right? I don't think anything, all of the rumors and all the other stuff, it seems to just amount to that same thing. And so, we could have done 500 articles on conference realignment and every rumor and everything. And, there's a great place for all of that. But our vision has always been to provide maybe what isn't the mainstream, provide beyond just that. And so I was telling you this, over text, and I was just saying that there's never been a finer special teams preview of San Diego State football in my life. And, my parents are alumni. I'm alumni. I went to games when I was a little kid. I've been reading the paper, listening to the radio about San Diego State my entire life. And I can say it in full confidence. I mean, what you were able to do with that was literally the best that has ever been done. You broke news that Colin Hopkins is, they're hoping that he gets back and things like that for next season, for the season after this upcoming one. You broke that. You got a great description about the incoming kicker. Again, just breaking things, giving things that nobody was ever done. The interview with Coach Deacon, I thought him explaining all of the different pieces of what he's looking at on each kick. Again, it was like a clinic on special teams. And just as we've talked about over the years, that's our vision. Our vision is, in addition to some of these mainstream things, in addition to the stuff that gets the clicks and gets the views, we always want to put the same professional focus and emphasis on that. And you pulled it off, man. So kudos again, another one for that, dude. Thought it was fantastic.
I appreciate that. I do want to comment on the field goal kicker article. Okay. I think it came across maybe, especially with the grades being poor, that the kicking unit is going to be like really bad, and how it's going to go back to the Rocky Long days of going for it on fourth down. I don't think that's necessarily the message Coach Deacon was relaying or that I was relaying. I think, the fact of the matter was nobody in spring camp elevated themselves above the others to be named, at least a starter. That doesn't mean that the three, well, now the two of them plus the new guy aren't going to get there. It's just, it wasn't to the point where they could declare, okay, this guy is head and shoulders above. So I don't necessarily want to think, that it's doom and gloom. But as I pointed out in my article, Matt Araiza had the lowest field goal percentage success rate in the Mountain West last year out of 12 kickers.
Right.
There were 13 kickers in the conference that kicked the field goal attempt. One guy had one attempt and he missed it. So he was 0%. I don't remember which team he played on. But the other 12 teams had one kicker kick all their field goals. And Matt Araiza was last with 64%. So there is a definite avenue for them having a better field goal season this year. Chances of them having a better punting season, probably very little, because obviously it was historic.
Probably very little, right?
But there is, whoever becomes a starting field goal kicker has a good shot of besting, that 64% by Araiza from last year. Now it comes down to also making crucial kicks. Matt, I think, made 2 game-winning kicks. He at least made the one against Nevada. I think there was one other one that was late in the game. So that helps too. So something to talk about, but I didn't want that article to come across that, it's a doom and gloom and they're going to have to go for it on fourth down because of that. So,
well, see, but here's the thing. But here's the thing. Okay. Now, there's a couple of things as far as the doom and gloom is concerned in that season that they're talking about with Rocky Long, where he wouldn't kick chip shot field goals. And I remember sitting in the stands and they were playing, I think it was Derek Carr and Fresno State, and Fresno State was ranked and they needed the win to be able to came into SDCCU Stadium. And we happened to be sitting by some fans of Fresno State, and San Diego State got all the way deep and had like inside, it couldn't have been in it. I feel like it was inside 30, could have been inside 35. I don't have it in front of me. And the Fresno State people started packing up. They were like packing up their stuff and they were like, okay, we're leaving. And I'm like, you probably want to watch this. San Diego State can't make field goals. And sure enough, he missed it. And then Fresno State ended up winning. I at the beginning of that season, I don't think that Rocky Long had made the determination, I'm going to go for it at fourth downs. At the beginning of the season, they had a rough spring, a rough fall camp, and they were at a crossroads, and he gave them chances in the season. And then instead of them getting better and rising to it, they fell. And I that's the message that I got from Coach Deacon. If you're in fall camp, if you're in spring camp and you're not hitting a 70% click with not a ton of pressure, that's why no one wants the job, right? That's why no one won the job. They need to have them be up above 80%. And so I think that saying that, I view it as more of that crossroads. Like, is somebody going to step up in fall camp? And then when the season starts and there's actually pressure, are they going to be able to do that? The second part, I think, I'm not sure that they can outdo Araiza, because I think one really important key statistical thing is that he was really good inside of 40 and he was not good at all outside of 50. And he got a lot of opportunities to kick from outside of 50 that I don't think anyone on this upcoming team is going to get that opportunity. They're going to punt. They're going to play field position in a lot of those same situations, or they're going to go for it. So I think that they're going to need to be, where he was on the shorter kicks. And I think that's going to be what they're going to depend on these guys for, as opposed to the longer ones. But no, it's not doom and gloom. But that said, again, tipping my hat to you, no one was quite aware that the field goals was that underwhelming in spring camp until, you asked the question, and Coach Deacon was just honest about it and said, yeah, we got a lot of work to do.
Yeah, and the Colin Hopkins thing is disappointing because I think he probably had a decent chance of winning one of those two spots.
Mm-hmm.
And engineering is a difficult major. And I'm curious and to wonder, like, does Colin, does he know what the plan is? Does he know what his criteria is to be able to get back on the team for next year? And are they going to open up the team? Are they going to open it up, with open hands for him to come back? We, on the basketball side, we saw what happened with Chad Baker-Mazara. He didn't get a second chance, right? And that we're aware of.
No, I wouldn't say that. I think he got many chances. Yeah. No, he got many chances, and was just unable to take advantage of them and things like that. So I would assume the same thing. He's going to be supported, but there does come a time where it's like, just like we saw with Chad Baker-Mazara, like here's the time. He'll have the support, he'll have the opportunities, and man, it was to hear, the sound of the ball when he would kick it. Kid's got a powerful leg. He's big. I think, it was, in my estimation, if Jack Browning was going to just be the field goal kicker, it was because Colin Hopkins was able to be a better punter than Delgado was a field goal kicker. So I think in an ideal world, Delgado or the new kicker Reeser.
Jarrett Reeser.
Jared Reeser will step up and become the field goal kicker to allow Jack Browning to do the other two spots. But man, it is definitely a question mark for sure.
Yeah, one thing I didn't touch on too much in my field goal article was, I don't think I actually touched on it at all, is the kickoffs.
Yeah.
And how Ariza basically was a guaranteed touchback. Whereas, we'll see how whoever wins that spot can do to duplicate that, because suddenly if you're, kicking it to the 5-yard line and you're giving up returns and you've got special teams guys that have to run hard, make a tackle, more injuries potentially, potential of giving up a touchdown. So all that stuff is something that we didn't really have to talk about or worry about for the Aztecs, the last 2 years. It could be another recurring thing this year. So we'll see about that.
Yeah. And for a long time, and this is the thing is you look around college football and you look around the conferences, teams don't have, that's a weapon that a lot of teams don't have. I remember when Rashad Penny took that famous touchdown back against Arizona State, their head coach at the time basically said, like, he's got to kick the ball out of the end zone. Like, that's the only way that you can kind of defend that. It's a weapon. It's a weapon in San Diego State. I think since Abel Perez back in something like 2010, they finally got kickers who could make sure that most of them were not returned. And while I still think that that's the expectation, it's not as anywhere near of a sure thing as what you had with Ariza.
Yep. So we've done the offense, we've done the special teams, and next up is going to be defense. And I was re-listening to the Maddox interview we did. That's going to be coming up soon, and there's a lot of information in there, a lot of stuff that I didn't remember the first time. Listening to it again, so I think our listeners are going to really enjoy it. Because we definitely did.
I cheated because I kind of spilled a few of the nuggets in the Hoke article about where people would start and things like that. But that I think has been, if you want to talk about takeaways for all three of the coordinator conversations as we're getting ready for these previews, is just the honesty and going and saying, okay, we were at 70%. We're not very good. That does nothing but add pressure to the kickers. Yeah. Right. And make our articles better. Like that's what that does.
Right. For the fan base. But I think the coaches aren't telling us anything that they haven't already told the players. So in that sense, I think the players have heard it.
Of course.
And I think but you're right. Once it gets out there in an interview, in an article, and the fans read it, then sure, yeah, that a lot of that might some players might add.
It's being brought up more. They're seeing it and all that kind of stuff. And so it was great. Just their honesty of saying, this is what we're thinking. This is why, we didn't have these packages on offense. This is what I need to do better as a coach. Here's where we're looking at this. Here's where we're looking at that. If the season was going to start today, you'll hear Coach Maddox talk a lot about this is who would be starting. So I think there's a lot of really good information that looking forward to being able to write up about.
Absolutely. So that's going to do it for us for today. Hope you guys enjoyed the conversation Paul had with Coach Hoke. Hit the subscribe button, like this episode, share it with all your friends and family. Get them excited about September 3rd because we are a month away. Thank you guys for listening. We'll talk to you guys next time. You are listening to the SDSU Football Podcast, presented by the East Village Times with your hosts Andre Hagverdian and Paul Garrison.